Where would you like to start? We can talk about the CNN show that nobody watched, but it was crazy. We could start with the impeachment, the latest updates on that. Where would you like to start?
I've been watching Donald Trump very closely for the past 2 weeks as a human being, not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's where I want to start.
Okay.
And I haven't talked about this even on BillO'Reilly.com. I have
gosh.
the first mention of this.
We'll alert the press. This is an exclusive.
Okay. Well, the press will ignore you if you alert it. They don't care about it. Well, unless he dies, then they would care.
Right.
Okay, so in the last chapter of the United States of Trump, I interviewed the president after the Robert Mueller verdict came in. It was the first time that I've ever seen him emotional in the 30 years I've known him. Not crazy emotion, but if you read the last chapter, you'll see the emotion. Okay, I noted that. And now with impeachment, all right, and every single day he's guilty of this, he's guilty of that, he did this. And this is a rerun of Mueller. Almost the same wording, the same condemnation, the same conviction without evidence, exactly the same. Groundhog Day. So I'm noticing now that President Trump, is starting to lose focus. He's starting to lash out. Now, they're going to say, look, O'Reilly always lashes out. Twitter, this, that, and the other thing.
No, it's different.
Yes. It has been up until 2 or 3 weeks ago a calculated lash. Now, it's all over the place. And I will submit to you, based upon my knowledge of the man, that this is getting to him. So this weekend, I'm going to Vermont. I'm going to try to deliver a little candy to Bernie Sanders. I know he's up there convalescing. I'm actually going to be very close to his mansion. But I'm doing it because I need a break. I need to get some fresh air. I need to look at the leaves. I need to get a little maple syrup and pour it on my head. I need to do that to get away. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Trump never gets away.
Never.
He doesn't sleep. He's a vampire. He has one hobby. He hits the little golf ball, but I think he's bored with that. All right? And he's every day obsessing, and that's the word, about here they come again. I didn't do anything. They're trying to ruin me in another way, and I've got to fight everybody all by myself. That's a real tough place to be as a human being. And I want all your listeners, who I think most are fair-minded, to step back and say, there comes a point in a country's history where the people have to rise up and say, enough. It's 13 months before we vote. 13 months. All of this now is a charade. And I mean, your head will blow off if you try to get in. And by the way, I did analyze your stuff on Ukraine that you put on the Blaze. Mm-hmm. It was very good. I directed all my hundreds of thousands of followers over to it.
Thank you.
But in order to digest it, it's like you have to be crazed because there are names and this and that. Nobody knows about Ukraine. And so I do the overarch. There is no crime. All right? This is not anything that should be submitted to the House for impeachment vote. It's not there. Maybe it'll be there in 2 weeks. It's not there now. This is purely a malicious plan to destroy a human being.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So let me tell you this, Bill. First of all, you're 100% right. It is getting to him. And it would it's getting to me. I saw what happened yesterday where they arrested 2 people. The third one, I think, is still out. And they were arrested and tied to Rudy Giuliani that, oh, my gosh, look at this fundraising was going on, et cetera, et cetera. The reason why the FBI and the Southern District of New York, this is your area, Bill. There's something wrong with the Southern District of New York attorneys, federal attorneys. These guys are the ones that turned down Lysenko and the prosecutors from Ukraine. They came and tried to get to the United States, and the embassy, the ambassador of the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, blocked them from getting a visa. They wanted to go meet with the DOJ. They wanted to go meet with our attorney general. They were blocked. Once Trump removed that blockage, they then got visas and they were told to bring it to the Southern District of New York. And that those attorneys turned down even looking at the information. They didn't want anything to do with that information. Now these are the same guys who seem to be eager to prosecute everything around Donald Trump, even though the main guy is a Trump supporter, supposedly. He is now prosecuting these guys and going after them on the day before the ambassador is to testify in front of Congress. This is a setup. This is coordinated timing. If I were Donald Trump, once you know the full story, you see how corrupt this deep state is. And it is enough to drive you mad, especially because you can't explain it quickly to people.
And, I don't know what William Barr, the Attorney General, is doing.
I don't either.
He's the boss.
Right.
He's their boss. So I'm going to let that play out because I don't know. You know a lot more than I do about this. And by the way, that is probably the only subject on the planet that you know more than me.
No, I knew it. I know it. Well, financial stuff too.
You know more about it than I do. But
that hurt. That hurt you. That hurt you. It makes me happy.
I give credit where credit is due. You did a lot of good work on this, and people should take it seriously and look at it. But you say that this is a coordinated effort. And I don't know whether that's true on the micro level, but I do know that the press and the Democratic Party are working together on this impeachment thing. They coordinate, okay, through K Street. K Street is a famous avenue in Washington, D.C., where the political action committees are. And there are organizations that coordinate information between Democrats and the press, all right? So through K Street, because the press, and I'm talking now the big boys, New York Times, Washington Post, NBC News, CNN, those are the four. They know there's no Democratic candidate that can beat Trump right now. You're watching Elizabeth Warren tell another whopper about she got fired because she was pregnant or any of this. Now we know because of good reporting from the Washington Examiner, that's totally bogus. All right, this goes into her lineage of Native American. So she is, going to get destroyed if she gets the nomination. Biden, he's been the major casualty of Ukraine. So next Tuesday night, when the New York Times and CNN team up to moderate the debate, the Democratic debate, the fascinating part of that will be, are you going to ask Biden about his son and all of this stuff in China and Ukraine? Are you going to follow up with questions because Biden's going to have a prepared answer? Are you going to ask Elizabeth Warren about this other bogus pregnancy thing?
No.
Are you going to push her on it? What do you think? You think they will?
No, I don't think they will. They'll ask Biden, but they won't push him on it because they all say it's a conspiracy theory. And it's easy to say it's a conspiracy theory.
Right?
If you're, so one question.
And then
Warren, I don't think she even gets
How about Warren? Did she get a pregnancy question?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
So they're in the tank. And if that happens, there's going to be an outcry in the conservative media, which is primarily talk radio, internet. Because Fox News is not in the conservative media anymore. That they've not.
Wait a minute. What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, it used to be that Fox News had a traditional slant, which means this: that the guy who ran the place, Roger Ailes, basically his philosophy was conservatives and traditional Americans are not heard in the media.
Correct.
Okay, that's how he founded the channel.
Mm-hmm.
So we all knew, all of us who were working for him, that we had to give voice, not exclusive voice. I certainly didn't. I mean, I balanced it out. But we had to give voice to that side. That's gone.
What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
Banishing. They're not banishing. All right. They're not saying, "Oh, you're conservative or traditional. You can't come on Fox News." There's plenty of conservative and traditionals on there, but the voice that used to be there is not there any longer. So you have a network, it's still pro-Trump in primetime, but not in daytime. And that's an interesting shift, and it's driving Donald Trump crazy. Here's another thing. Trump lashed out at the Fox News poll. You guys saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, instead of doing a factual lash out, like he should have done, and say, did you know that the Fox News poll questions 8% more Democrats than Republicans on impeachment? If you look at the methodology, the Fox News poll asked 8% more Democrats than Republicans. And guess what the margin was for impeachment? 8%. Oh, what a shock. Nobody knows that because nobody looks at the methodology. I did, but that's what he should have done. Just say, this is bogus. This is a setup. If you're going to ask 8% more of one certain party, then you're going to get 8% gap. That's what you're going to get. Right? Am I crazy?
Well, that's a different question. And we're gonna let the audience ponder that,
was very long
including the extra 8% here in just a second. I'll come back with Bill O'Reilly. You just answer that quietly yourself. Just take a couple of seconds. First, let me tell you about China. All right, let's go to China. Let's go to China, Bill, and the NBA. Your thoughts?
China NBA.
Yeah.
Can I give you a plug before we do that?
For me? Sure.
Yeah, for you.
Go ahead.
I just took on realestateagentsitrust.com as a sponsor. Just took them on. And you probably know this, but we vet our sponsors really, really hard on BillO'Reilly.com and the syndicated radio show. We don't take anybody because we don't have to. We have lots of people wanting to sponsor, and I can only use so many. But I looked into that. I looked into that organization. That's really good.
Thank you.
And you started it or something,
yes,
right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Or something.
I mean, I'm stunned.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Really good.
No, I'm the guy who gives you backhanded compliments. It doesn't work the other way around.
Beck, they don't have this in China. you can't get it there.
Well, you can't own a house in China, I think.
It's too capitalistic. They can't get it.
Okay.
All right, China NBA.
China NBA.
All about sneakers, all about billions of dollars. The NBA couldn't care less about Hong Kong or people being put in concentration camps in Red China or human rights abuses or any of that.
Right. So doesn't this pull apart all of the stuff that Nike and everybody's like, we're with you, we're with we're with the little people and the social justice. It's all about money.
Justice. No, social justice stops in Oregon and Beaverton. All right, that's where it stops. You can't go any further west with social justice because you'll run into China. But everybody should know there's billions of dollars in business between the National Basketball Association and China because the Chinese love the sneakers, they love basketball, and there's all of that synergy. So this guy in Houston, who apparently didn't know that, the general manager of the Rockets, says, hey, I support the Hong Kong protesters. Oh, no. But can you imagine these pinheads in Beijing? Do they not have anything better to do? Who cares if a Houston Rockets GM supports Hong Kong?
Oh, Houston Rockets are huge in China. Huge in China.
These guys are mobilizing nuclear submarines because of this guy in Houston? Come on. It just shows you what you're dealing with over there with these people. And that's why Trump hasn't been able to get the trade deal, which would be good for the entire world, because these people are out of their minds. These are loons. I mean, these are Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren times 1,000.
So Bill, help me out here. I think this is all coming undone, and I think the NBA is a great example of it. Their hypocrisy was on full display, And it's because it's all based on a lie and money. Their support of social justice has always been about money.
Of course.
Right. And so it's all coming undone. And I think the American people have looked at China in a new way for the first time in a long time this week.
I don't think the American people, by and large, care about China at all. All right? It's far away. It's not real. They're not involved with geopolitics. If some nation's communist, they don't care. I'm sorry to be negative, but the majority of Americans, I have to say, I mean, they don't know or care what's going on, Beck.
So is this outrage just media driven?
It's conservative driven. It's not media driven. I mean, the liberal media doesn't want this story. They don't want to report it. They mention it, but it's not a big story for them. The narrative on the left is basically anything that helps traditional conservative thought is bad, even if it's not bad, even if it's correct. I mean, the Chinese people should be free, 1.5 billion of them. Hong Kong, they're trying to renege on the deal. Beijing is trying to renege on the deal that they made with the British to hand over Hong Kong. So, but do the average American care? They want their sneakers. They want to watch the Celtics and the Lakers. Is LeBron James going to go out there with a little headband that says "Free Hong Kong"? You think you're going to see that?
When we come back, Mr. Bill O'Reilly will talk to us about what's happening in Turkey. Also, the incredibly insane things that were said on national television last night by the candidates of the DNC. It was nuts. His thoughts coming up. This is the Glenn Beck program. It's Friday, which means Bill O'Reilly has joined us with his digest of the week. Bill, I want to take you now to Syria and Turkey. A lot of people are upset. I'm torn. I actually I feel very uncomfortable with what we're doing, but I actually agree with what we're doing. I was against getting in bed with these Marxist Kurds. These are not the Kurds of Iraq. These are Syrian Kurds, and they are Marxist authoritarian terrorists. John McCain, when he went over and met with the rebels and that picture came out, I'm like, these guys are terrorists. What are we doing? So I'm actually glad we're not in business with them anymore. But at the same time, you know, ISIS is going to be strengthened by this. Turkey is trying to remake the Ottoman Empire. Where do you stand? And help me understand, which way are we going here?
You know, I don't think it's a major issue for Americans. And by the way, if you would be kind enough to give me 90 seconds at the end of this segment, I got a really good story for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, the problem here is that Donald Trump promised when he campaigned for the presidency that he was going to pull U.S. troops out of the unending war syndrome. The Turkey-Kurd-Syrian conflict is an unending war. It's never going to stop. So the president, believes that having our forces on the ground there is a deficit and that he's going to pull them out. It's as simple as that. Now, the Kurds did help us in the Iraqi war, and that includes some of them in northern Syria. They hated Saddam, all right, and they helped us. That's a fact. They hate ISIS, and they fight ISIS. But I don't know the extent of Turkey's incursion. There's no reporting on the ground that's accurate. I don't really know. Now, I know that Erdogan, whatever his name is coming to D.C., the Turkish dictator, next week. And I assume that Trump is going to say, look, this is what you're going to do, or we'll strangle your economy. So at this point, I'm just basically watching this.
All right. Erdogan was the best friend of Barack Obama. He spent more time with Erdogan on the phone than any other world leader, and he even himself said he is my best ally, and I turn to him. So the world was set up, the Obama world was set up to assist Turkey. And I was outraged by that at the time. That's not the guy that should be counseling our president, in my opinion. But that's, we're obviously getting out of that business. Turkey is also a bad player. Let me then switch to some sound bites. I'd just love to hear your opinion of what happened yesterday on CNN. And we're bringing it up because nobody watched it. First, let me play a comment from Beto last night.
Do you think religious institutions like colleges, churches, charities, should they lose their tax-exempt status if they oppose same-sex marriage?
Yes.
Thoughts on that, Bill?
Fascism, don't you love it? We love the fascist movement. Beto, I understand, is negotiating with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. Wasn't there a guy named Beto that ran around?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
No, I think there was, Beck.
Okay.
He had the big floppy shoes. I believe his name was Beto. But anyway, this is the usual fascism. If you don't agree with us, you're a human rights violator, and you should be banished and wear a bell so everywhere you go it rings and people know you're coming.
Here's a 9-year-old trans kid asking Elizabeth Warren something. Listen.
Sia and his mom, Mimi, who's an advocate for transgender youth and active with the Human Rights Campaign. Jacob is an elementary school student from Massachusetts, likes to play hockey. Jacob.
All right, Jacob.
Oh, she's so awkward.
My name is Jacob, and I'm a 9-year-old transgender American. My question is...
All right, Jacob.
A 9-year-old transgender.
What will you do in your first week as president to make sure that kids like me feel safer in schools? And what do you think schools need to do better to make sure that I don't have to worry about anything but my homework?
Comment, Bill?
It's a kid. I can't ever criticize a kid. It's a rehearsed situation.
You can criticize mom, can't you? A 9-year-old transgender?
I don't like to do that. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know what the kid's been through. I don't know any of that. I really don't like to do it.
Okay. Do you believe it's healthy for a 9-year-old to identify as transgender? I mean, once you're an adult and you are settled down.
I understand that for me, I would raise my children in the gender in which they were born until they were maybe 16 or 17. And if it was a major issue, then we bring in, a psychiatrist, very trained counselors. But I know that these kids who are different get brutalized in school.
So what? I agree.
I saw that.
Yeah,
and so I'm,
Bill,
I'm very
kids
sympathetic
will brutalize kids for being different. They don't have to be transgender. This is something that happens with kids.
They can have bad complexion.
Right.
Sure.
So what is the role of the president? What will you do to keep me safe? What policy should the president issue?
Look, if I'm president, I have the public school system in a much different place than it is now. All right. I mean, that would take an hour, but it's basically if you're receiving federal funding, there are things you have to do. School uniforms would be number one, anti-bullying number two. The president really cannot control personal behavior. That's a local issue.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Okay.
You're welcome.
Let me go to Warren supporting taxes now for transgender surgery. Here she is.
In the 2012 campaign for Senate, you criticized a judge's ruling that granted transition-related surgery to a transgender inmate. You said, I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Do you regret that?
Yep. No, it was a bad answer. And I think it was a bad answer. And I believe that everyone is entitled to medical care and medical care that they need. And that includes people who are transgender, who it is the time for them to have gender-affirming surgery. I just think that's important.
Okay. So I don't think you noticed nobody clapped on that because she didn't talk about a pivot point at all. She didn't say, she just said it was a bad answer. Well, what made you change your mind? It was just a few years ago.
It was a bad answer because it's now not politically correct. Look, Elizabeth Warren doesn't have any core values. She doesn't believe in anything. Come on. I mean, this is ridiculous. The woman is just a disaster on every level. So by following her logic, all right, the U.S. taxpayer, already $22 trillion in debt, would have to pay for everybody's nose job, everybody's reconstructive surgery on their face, on their body, if they didn't like something about their body, because their self-image is bad, and this would help it. Now, I'm not diminishing anybody's gender problems or gender desires. I don't do that. I don't think it's right for me to do it. But if you're going to have a policy where a selected few in America get their surgeries paid for, then everybody has to.
All right, let me give you. I've got to, because I want to save you time. So let me just give you a real quick one here. This is Kamala Harris coming to the stage, and Cuomo's in trouble for what he said right after she introduced herself. Listen.
Good to see you, Senator. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
How are you? Anna, thank you guys. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
She, her, and hers. So fake.
This whole thing is fake. Mine too. Notice nobody laughs. He makes a joke. Not funny, Bill, to a crowd of people who believe that that's not funny because it could be true for them.
Beck, can I ask you and Stu a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Aren't you confused by all this? I don't know what, who, she, what, where, why. Now you can't even have a conversation because you may put a wrong pronoun in the sentence.
Yeah, it's like they've introduced a new official language to the United States without asking us.
And we have to. It's like if we all decided to go metric, except no one decided. Not even the government decided to go metric.
I mean, I'm walking in, my pronouns are she, he, we, I took Latin. I know what the pronouns are. We have reached a state of madness.
Madness
in this country. And I hope the voters are just taking a look at who's driving that. I mean, that's all Trump has to run on.
Yeah, it is.
You may not like me, but look at this.
Yeah, if he can control his anger, and I think righteous indignation on this, and not lash out and just be cool and just go, this is a joke. Really?
Well,
go ahead.
I wouldn't
you can
even
have
say
that.
it's a joke. I said this is dangerous.
Well, yeah, but
and if you value your freedom, you can't give these people power. And that's how we started our conversation. That the president is, I think, really, really reeling from all of these personal attacks, and he needs to walk in the woods.
Okay, 90
Quick
seconds.
Story?
Yeah.
Okay. So when the United States of Trump came out, I don't know whether you remember, but I said it was unlikely the New York Times would put it at number one on the bestseller list, even though my killing books were all number one. Why? Because Donald Trump's picture is on the cover of the United States of Trump. So presto, the first week the book is out, it sells 110,000 copies, 40,000 copies more than the second book, nonfiction, okay? Yet I'm number 3 on Sunday on the New York Times list. So I asked the publisher, Macmillan, to do an audit of the sales of every nonfiction book in the top 10. I'm far and away the best-selling book, okay? I posted the letter from the publisher, the CEO, on BillO'Reilly.com. This is proof positive that the bestseller list, not only in the New York Times, but in the other areas as well, BookScan, is a fraud.
Wait. But you're not number one on BookScan either?
I'm number 2, because they didn't count 48,000 advanced sale books on BookScan. 48,000.
That's crazy.
I mean, come on.
That's crazy.
So the United States of Trump, we're very pleased because it's such a big bestseller, and a lot of that has to do with you and Stu, and I really appreciate it. But if you think that any measure of the media is honest in America these days, it is not.
Yeah, I don't think
it is organized crime. That's what we have. And they ought to have RICO statutes and put all these people in cuffs.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
everyone.
There it is, Bill O'Reilly.